Hello everyone and welcome to today's HJ Goes Live session on how to invest in your salon's future success. And we're joined by Phil Smith, who is the founder of Smith England Salon in Salisbury, and he's also the winner of multiple awards at HJ's British Hairdressing Business Awards. And he's going to be talking to us about the simple steps you can take right now to ensure the future success of your hairdressing business. So thank you so much for joining us on this rather sunny Tuesday, Phil.
No worries at all. Thanks for having me. Always nice to be on.
Oh, definitely. And for anyone who is not familiar with you and your salon and your ethos, maybe you'd be able to just tell us a little bit about yourself and the Smith England salon ethos, because it's a little bit different, isn't it?
Yeah, my sort of basis, you can tell just by looking at me, I'm obviously a lot older than most hairdressers these days. So I had ran my Tony and Guy business. So I had 28 franchise salons with business partners. And we had this great business and enjoyed the sort of whole buzz of making money and striving and growing forward. And then we had a terrible time in sort of 2008, 2009, when the whole world was having a financial crisis. And I had this sort of, wake up moment then that my life was flying by. And maybe it's just not always about this huge, fast paced existence that we're all sort of creating for ourselves. So I took the decision to bow out of doing franchise salons. I already had a very, very small little product range that I was selling through Sainsbury's. So I wanted to focus on that a little bit more, but I missed the salon buzz. I think if it's in you, it's in you. There's nothing you can do to get it out. So I opened my own little salon in Salisbury, in this derelict little building next to the cathedral walls of Salisbury. But I didn't want to go back to the days of what I used to be doing with Tony and Guy, which was this fast-paced, fully booked clienteles every day and everyone working towards targets and so on. And I just wanted something that was a little bit cool, a little bit nice. I wanted to enjoy work again. And so not focus on the financial reward, but focus on the personal satisfaction you get from seeing people do well. I love seeing people qualify from 16-year-old school leavers to become good hairdressers. And over my time, I've employed those thousands of people, I guess, and thousands of people have left my employment. Some, with praise for me, how I work, some with not so much praise with how I work. But you can't please everybody. But even those that, that we've parted on, I'd say bad terms, I still enjoy seeing them do well, because I believe, to play a small part in their success is a much, much better feeling than any financial reward can give you. So that's more what my salon is about these days. And I've transferred that into how I run products as well. My products came about at a time when the market was saturated. You had everyone from Nicky Clark, Andrew Collins, Trevor Sorby, Charles Worthington, Tony and Guy, Beverly Cabela. There was so many. And my little range came about because that particular point in, if you went into a Boots chemist, there'd be all these different products at £6 and £7. And Sainsbury's felt there'd be an opening for something if we could do something at £4 or £5. And because I was the hairdresser that was out of London, I was doing British Hairdresser of the Year. And I was, the affordable rich guy was £50 or £60 for a haircut. And all the others that I just mentioned were, £200, £300, £400, £500, £600. In Nicky's case, about £5,000. So it was born in that way, and I've always tried to maintain that. So I run I get heavily involved in the ingredients that my products have, and I should be charging a lot more for them with the ingredient story that's within them, but I don't. I just it's more about doing what's right and feeling good and going to sleep of a night time, feeling that you've done some good today, than it is about making a lot of money. Don't get me wrong, we all need to make money to survive, and I still like the nice things that life has to offer, and I still strive for them, but I believe that they can be reached in other ways. You don't always have to be a ruthless person in getting there, if that makes any sense at all.
100%. It's a real great philosophy to have, isn't it? Because it means you can kind of balance out that creative side with the business side and make sure you're sort of.
Well, you say that. I've been looking for this word balance since I can remember, as far back, and I don't even know if it exists. But I think there's no right or wrong way as to how you operate a business these days, and but this is how I choose to do it, and it feels right for me. And but I'm still not exactly happy as how it should be. I don't think it's balanced yet. I'm still running around like an idiot sometimes, and I mean, after I finish with you today, I've got to drive 35 miles. I've got a meeting with somebody about some business. It's non-stop. So it's not balanced at all. I'm knackered.
I know, Phil, but people only ever have good things to say about you because you put everything into it. Even in passing, people will say, "Oh, I met Phil and he's so lovely," or
I do
he's
try.
physically
I
came
do
to
try.
see me, and that makes all the difference.
Oh, that's nice to hear. It's nice to hear.
Definitely. And you are in the industry and you're kind of constantly working on your business, but also kind of in the wider industry as well. So what would you say, from what you've seen, are the biggest issues facing the hairdressing industry right now?
There's lots with what's gone on, and the biggest problem we're all having now is people have come back to work. A lot of hairdressers have had a bit of a rethink over this lockdown period. A lot of people are not coming back to work. They're saying, you know what, I don't need to do this. Rightly or wrongly, I know there were lots of hairdressers that were still sort of practicing home hairdressing while this was on. They probably needed to. They probably couldn't afford not to. So I feel for them. But they've actually realised, well, do you know what? I can do 3 haircuts a day. I don't need to declare that money. You do. I mean, it's against the law to not declare it, but I don't need to declare it, and I'm putting 100, 150 pound in my pocket each day. Why would I go back to a salon? And then those that have been doing that have come back to a salon, thinking, Jesus, I'm working so hard and it's so busy, and I'm doing 15, 16 clients a day. I'm not eating lunch. It's like it was before,
Yeah.
I don't like this. And so we're going through this huge change. I'm seeing it. My wife, Louise, she still runs a Tony and Guy franchise here in Salisbury. And she's getting it. The staff are burning out. They've only been back a couple of months after having half the year off.
And I guess April, May was like having the Christmas period,
wasn't it? And more. I mean,
yeah.
It was quiet, if I'm honest. I'm a little bit luckier here in my little shop because we run to a limit, and even though we sort of had to turn some business away in the early few weeks back, it's just this lovely sort of steady, and I hate my shop being too busy. It's not built to be too busy. And so we're fairly fortunate. So I've not experienced those problems, but a lot of my colleagues that I speak to are all having issues. There's also, I think, the biggest issue happening right now is the lack of staff. That there's not the employable people that there were, and that's I put that down to a lot of people have gone self-employed, which has been happening for the last decade. We are, I think, Laura, I think we're in danger. We've lost a generation of hairdressers because nobody, or I say nobody, I think I read something recently, I don't quote me on this, but let's say there's around half the salons in this country are now kind of led by self-employed sort of salon owners, and half are by employed owners. So you don't need to be a rocket scientist to work out that the ones that still employ people, they need to train school leavers, mums, whoever. You need to train your staff, and you need to bring staff into your salon. Whereas self-employed, what you tend to do is, well, if someone leaves your self-employed salon, you just put out an advert, I'll give you 60% back of whatever you turn over, or 70% back, or you rent a chair. It's much easier for someone to take on a member of staff as a self-employed salon, whereas an employed salon, you need to make sure that the standards are adhered to and so on. So we've lost a whole generation of young hairdressers. And all that's going to do is put the price, which is good for a hairdresser, going to put the price of a hairdresser up, so you can command more salary and better working conditions, better working hours, whatever, I don't know. But at some point, there'll be a breaking point, and salons, self-employed salons that have high street rents, and all the high costs of being an employed business where you're VAT registered and so on, just fall out of business, will close down, which is the sad state of affairs. And that is a reality. That is going to happen unless there is a drastic turnabout of events, a change in government policy. I think the whole VAT threshold scenario, where if I employ, let's say, for example, I employ 5 people downstairs and they're all turning over £60,000 a year in business for me, every single penny that they turn over, I declare, and we have to pay VAT on it. Whereas you could have 5 people in the shop across the road here. I can see a salon that's all self-employed, and let's say they're all turning over £60,000 a year. They get to keep their VAT. They don't have to pay the VAT. So the business rates is level now. That's a good thing that's happened. I mean, I know it's all coming back in the business rates, but at some point, I think they're working on a fairer business rate to a turnover-led business. But it's this VAT thing, that 20% of your turnover. If you're talking 3, 4, 5, 600,000 plus, I mean, imagine if you're a salon turning over £1 million a year, and your VAT element is huge. You know, it's the difference between employing 4 or 5 young school leavers and giving them a good salary and a good education and making them hairdressers of the future, and not. It's as simple as that. It's a big problem.
There has been that industry-wide campaign for Chop the VAT, hasn't there? Do you think that's enough? Do you think we need to go further than that? What do you think the solution is?
It's a brilliant campaign, and I take my hat off to everyone that's been involved in it and that publicised it. But no, it's not enough, because nothing's happened. Here we are. We're still, you know, I have nothing but respect and admiration for all those that what I would call super salon owners. Richard Ward, Carl McCaffrey at Tony Guy and Canary Wharf, the Eaton family. You know, they run these big salons in city centres. Their rents must be £200,000 and £300,000 and £400,000 a year. Their wage costs, I mean, I just would cry when I look at their wage bills. And they need hairdressers to come up. They need staff. I mean, all that's going to happen to businesses like that, they're going to have less and less chance of getting staff over the coming years. And it'll just end, you know, because they can't simply afford to keep the salon sustainable. It won't happen.
Definitely. I mean, do you have any tips or advice for salon owners who are struggling at the moment?
Oh, blimey. Do you know what? Funny enough, an old colleague sent me a message, and I get loads of messages from people about product advice. So I don't tend to read them all because there's just too many. I'd be about 12 hours a day to answer all these messages. But I saw this one because I recognised the name. And you know, I'm thinking of spending some money on my salon, on PR. What do you recommend? And I honestly do not know. For the first time in my life, I'm a little bit stuck as to how we do things. So I've taken on a bit of going back to basics approach at the moment. You know, when I first opened my Tony and Guy salons in the old days, and you know, business was slow back then. It wasn't ran from day one at all. But like, for example, students, the world is still full of students. And we used to do like a student discount haircut. It was like £20 or £25, depending on the salon and the area. And what would happen, the student would come in and they'd get this cool haircut at an affordable price. Okay, so on days, you know, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, for example, you could get all your staff doing, you know, students doing that. We used to give out the flyers, the leaflets. It's much easier now because you've got social media, so you can reach all these students a lot easier. And then what would happen, the mums would come in because their cool son or their cool daughter was going to this cool little shop, and the mums would pay full price, and then the mums would have the colour. And I said, you know, let's go back to doing that again. And we've started it here in my shop, and it's working. You know, we're getting more students we've ever had before. And but what in turn, hopefully, that will encourage the mums and the dads to start using my salon again, just to keep that steady flow of business. And I think if you are a struggling salon right now, you've got to look at doing things where you don't sort of have colour sales or discount this, discount that. But I think if you target one element and give them the cool haircuts that, let's be honest, the staff enjoy doing, because they can be a little bit more creative with the younger ones.
Good for the social media and on grid and everything. Yeah.
So it keeps happening there. Yeah, take your pictures, do your social media campaigns. One of the things I'm really working on as well is how do we cut down the time it takes for a junior to qualify. And you know, because of my Tony and Guy background, I know Tony and Guy run some fantastic educational courses, and I think all of our educational offerings that we have, you know, from Alan D and Tony and Guy and Rush and Hob, and I mean that they all educate people well. There's no doubt about that. They never got to the size they did without being great educators. So I'm looking at, you know, if you have a junior, and instead of paying them, say, for example, £200 a week, you pay them 150 quid a week, and you put £50 a week into a little fund, and at the end of the year, you've got a couple of £1,000. how can we then work with a, you know, for example, I want to use Tony and Guy. How can we send that junior on a beginner's course so they just get through their training a lot quicker? It's all well and good saying in my day, you know, it did take 3 years to qualify, and then, you know, you're forever learning. We are always forever learning. You know, there's things that I still don't know how to do now in hair. But I think if we can get the juniors through a lot quicker, that they're going to be more receptive to coming to working for us. You know, nobody wants to clean toilets for 3 years anymore. Just, we're not in that world anymore, and nobody wants to, you know, do model nights until 10:30, 11 o'clock at night anymore. They want to do the training during the day. They want to get there as easy as they can, and whether you like that or you don't, or it's right or it's wrong, that is the way it's going. So that's one of the things I'm going to start doing with well, I've started doing it with my, you know, younger team. So their training will last 18 months maximum. They'll do a year on the salon floor. There will be contractual things that they'll have to follow. You know, that if you're going to spend £6,000 or £7,000 on a training course, which some salon owners might think, well, where am I going to get £6,000 or £7,000 from? But if you think about it, if you've got a junior on the floor for 3 years, you're going to spend a lot more than that just keeping them on the floor. You know, demotivating them. So you know, get them off the salon floor after a year, get them into a lovely course in London, give them that buzz, get that excitement back into our industry that we all used to have, which is still there. It just needs to be, to me, the excitement and the educational, that is the low-hanging fruit, but nobody seems to be picking it. We're just going along the easiest possible way we can, you know, and everyone's just, you know, doing the same sort of hairstyle now. My son and his girlfriend, they did a photo shoot yesterday for the BHAs, and the last sort of 3 weeks in my house has been hell, because he's been so worried about his shoot and his pictures, and whilst I keep saying to him, son, you've got to enjoy this. This is it. But it's lovely to see that passion again. It's been a while since I've actually felt that from any young hairdresser. I mean, I hope he doesn't watch this, because he'll think that he's got away with that then. But but it's exciting to do those things again, and you don't need to spend silly amounts of money anymore. You just don't. There's photographers out there that will be cost effective. There's models that are desperate for work. You know, they just want test shoots. You can get all that excitement back, and I think once that happens, your team becomes excited. And once one person in the team is doing it, 2 people want to do it, 3 people, and it just spreads. And so that to me is back to basics. You know, there's no, it's impossible to say, how do you get rich quick in hairdressing? Because it's not. You have to establish a business, and you have to work bloody hard. And that's why I can completely understand the self-employed route to hairdressing, because you don't need to work as hard. But I think your career, the longevity of your career is a lot less. And you have to, only yourself can answer that question. What do you want? Do you want a career that lasts as long as mine, like 100 years? Or do you want to, you know, be doing something else in 7 or 8 years, which I guarantee you will be. You know, if we all look at, and we all know lots of people that have left our employment to become self-employed hairdressers, they don't last as long. And what really I find sad is when you've lost really good people that are great, and you just know that would be something special. It's like the kid at school that would be a great footballer or a great rugby player or a great runner, but he never went to the football practice, or was always smoking at break time or something.
Had that innate ability, but didn't go that extra mile.
Didn't go that extra way. And when I see people that just lose that, I don't know what's the word I'm looking for, but when they're that skillful, but they choose the easier route because they can make just 20%.
The spark that kind of keeps them.
Oh, it's quite sad to see. It's quite sad to see.
Definitely. And you
answered that question, did it? Or did I go completely off piece?
We went on a little bit of a tangent, but that's not a bad thing, Phil. I mean, you mentioned a little bit there about the challenges with young people and apprentices. Do you think more needs to be done on a national level to recruit more people into the industry?
Oh, absolutely.
Excited, or should more be done on a community level? To
both. We've gone back into going into schools now and doing little talks to schools. You know, the last sort of. I know it's been difficult for the last 18 months, but recently my son, he did it. He went to 3 schools, did a little careers talk. There was, I think he spoke to about 9 people, and that was all that was interested in the 3 schools that were interested in hair. Excuse me. And one of them has started work with them.
Fantastic. And that's all you need. I mean, 9 people, that's a good number, isn't it? I mean, that's 9 more people than you would have got to speak to if you hadn't gone to the school.
But you've got to make that effort. You've got to, but that's on a local level. And again, when you're doing the students, when the students are coming in, you tell them, tell them how good it is, tell them what you were doing yesterday, tell them, how wonderful the career is. A lot of people think hair is just not that financially rewarding anymore, but to be, a good hairdresser can earn a great salary now. This is another sad fact of life. There's so many kids coming out of uni with their degrees and huge amount of debt, and can't even get work. They can't do anything that they've chosen to study for the previous 4 years. They're just going into anything and everything. At least with hair, you are in control of your own destiny, your own future, and there's so many different avenues that you can go into. It's not just like I don't know, like an IT job, or that's what you do day in, day out. Hairdressing is so diverse, and the world is tiny when you're a hairdresser. You can go and work in so many different countries and do so much. It's a skill you can take everywhere.
100%. It's a craft, isn't it? And once you've got that craft, you're not going to lose it.
Exactly right. Exactly right.
I mean, and Phil, as a salon owner, what is your trick for finding time to work on your business and not just in your business? Because you're very good at that, and thinking outside of the box and doing things a little bit differently. But those that are tuning in that want to find ways to invest in their future success.
See, I learned a lot from Tony Mascolo. He was a real brilliant delegator. Never met anyone like him that can delegate. And he had people around him, and 90% of the people around him would be moaning, "Oh, Tony's in a mood, Tony's this, Tony's that," but they were still doing what Tony needed them to do. So Tony didn't really care too much about what people thought about himself, but as long as the job and the company was running. So I learned from that. So now, even though I said I wanted to open a salon because I missed the salon buzz and I missed that, I do 1 day a week cutting hair, and then the rest of my time is spent just standing back and seeing so much. And there's a chap I know who runs a couple of Tony and Guy's salons. He worked with me for a while, and then he went off and did his own thing. He's again a delegator, so he does very little hands-on cutting, but he makes sure that all of his staff are doing 8, 9, 10, 11,000 pounds a month in turnover. To me, that's how you should be as a salon owner. My wife Lou, she's the complete opposite. She thinks that by putting 12 grand a month until herself, that makes that everyone will follow her lead, and I don't think it does. And it's one of the things we argue about when we argue, and she never wins, by the way. But that's her belief. But I like people. I think not that I like people. I think the people that get it right are the ones that delegate and stand back and watch, look at the experience the client is having when they come in at reception desk. How is their coffee served? How are they? How is the stylist? Is that stylist talking enough to the client? The magazines they're reading correct? Are they able to work the app where you can download the magazines now? There's a huge amount of things going on within our businesses that we, as a salon owner, if you're doing 15 clients a day, you'll never know. You'll just be oblivious to it. You won't know what's going on in the staff room. Won't know that if you have a big salon and a big group of a big team of people, you always get splits within that. And you get 2 or 3 that will break away that are really unhappy, and then they create this unhappy cloud, and God help anyone that gets in the way of it. You need to nip all those things in the bud. When you start having that, it's game over. You'll lose your business if you allow those things to fester. So as a salon owner, it's not about anymore, leading by example, as in doing that many clients a day. I don't think that works anymore. If you're paying people good money, and they're getting good commission levels, and it's a fair salary, they'll stay working with you as long as you're offering all the other things and they're in a fair environment. They will choose to work with you. So I would always recommend people, just take the time out. Don't feel you've got to do, 50 clients a day. It's just not going to work, and it becomes so frustrating. And then what you find is, at the end of the day, you're too tired to actually focus on your business, the fundamentals of the business. So it's taken me 35 years to realize that, by the way. It's not something I worked out on day one. But the way I work now is it's a nice approach. I'm always busy. I'm always working hard, and I love work. I do. I think it's something that I'll do forever. I used to look at Tony and I think, why do you still do what you do? I could never figure that out. But he obviously just loved what he did. He got himself into a place where it was really enjoyable, and his work became his life, and vice versa. which is not a
Yeah, which
bad
is
place.
fantastic.
Yeah.
And just going back to what you were saying about your wife Lou and the way she kind of works, you know, with lots of clients all day, every day. A lot of small salons, they've said it to me as well, is that because they see themselves as the name of the salon,
Yeah.
that most of the clients do want to be, you know, want to come to them. How do you make that transition?
If you single-handedly become involved in the education of your team, which you should, as a salon owner, you should. There's no way around that. You should be responsible for how they cut hair and colour hair. And if you're doing it correctly, it'll be a breeze to tell your client, look, such and such would be a great person for you if you can't get me, you know, and recommend your team. And always say, you know, if ever you're unhappy, please just let me know, and we can always fix it. It's just a haircut, it's just a colour. We can fix it. It's not the end of the world. But if you're recommending people, it does. That's just a natural progression. It doesn't happen instantly, but it's a natural progression that clients become. That if you're creating an atmosphere within the salon that's nice, they just like to come to the salon. We used to find if a good stylist would leave one of the busy salons that I had, that if they were a 10 grand a month stylist, sort of half of the business would follow them and half would stay. And then over a period of time, we got it to a point where I used to swap clients around quite a lot. You know, if someone was off on holiday, you would recommend that people continue to come in. And then it got to the point where it was about 70-30 in the salon's favor. So only 30% of the clients would follow that stylist. They were loyal and you were never going to save those. But if 70% of those people are staying, it's because they like where they're sat having their haircut. They do like the way the coffee is served. They do like the way the staff appear and look and talk and smile and greet them. That's key. It's all those little tiny little things that make up your package of your great salon.
And that takes time, I guess, Phil, to spend time on your
time. It takes, you know, we've lost that the ability to use common sense again. I think we're in such a you know, a PC environment right now. Everyone's afraid to do something wrong, but just, you know, run your business with common sense. And if things don't look right, you know, if coffee's served and a bit of it spilled into the saucer, you don't serve it like that. You know, it is a service, and if someone's spending 100 quid, they've got a choice of where to spend that £100 now. You know, and you want them to believe that they're spending it in the right place. They have to feel that. And the salon's got to be clean, the toilet's got to be clean, the reception area's got to be organised and friendly, and these are the basics that I was telling you about. You know, if you've got 3 or 4 people stood at reception, which, as we've now gone from this busy rush and we're now into this sort of lull where it's going to sort of balance out shortly, you will have staff who will hang around, and if they're all chatting at reception again, it's that intimidating thing that as soon as someone walks in, I can't stand walking into somewhere if 4 or 5 people are talking at the reception area. It's awful. So
yeah, you kind of feel like you, as the customer or the client, you feel like you've got to say, excuse me, kind of, you know. Yeah, even in supermarkets you see it, don't you, where you want to get.
I see this quite a lot. I love the whole Soho House club thing, and if anyone, I'm sure loads of people have been to it, but if anyone's not been that are watching, go and experience Soho House, because it's brilliant. But you go to certain places similar to Soho House or even Soho House, and some of the staff make you feel like they are doing you a favor by serving you. And that's my biggest criticism of all these places. They've invested millions and millions of pounds into how that business looks, how it smells, you know, the fragrance that's going on as you go in there, how the food is served, the wine on the wine list. And but if that member of staff just treats you or just talks to you like you're not
like they're above you, kind of thing. Yeah.
And no one's above anyone in this world. You know, no one is at all. We're all as important as each other, and without us, they can't do their job, and without them, we can't go in and have, you know. So I've always had that philosophy. You know, in a salon, no one's bigger. There's no hierarchy. Without me, my team can't do their job, and without them, I can't do my job.
Yeah.
But there was a place I went to in the Cotswolds recently called Dalesford, and it's the Dalesford Farm Shop, and it's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. You know, it's a stunning place to look at, and you can see why the Beckhams are often photographed there. But some of the staff were just a little bit short. You think, oh, really?
It doesn't take much to just go that extra and be friendly.
I came away the last time I came away thinking, God, what a shame. They've got it right on every level except for just polishing the team. And I then, that clicks in here and think, well, you know, how do my staff talk to clients. How my clients been good? And if you're doing 15 clients a day, you won't see that.
Yeah. And do you think there's an element to that, Phil, of the burnout and the work-life balance and looking after your teams so that if they are feeling stressed or tired, they're not taking it out on the clients?
Well, see, it's unfortunate because we've been off. I believe in everyone should have a really enjoyable job. If you don't enjoy your job, you're not going to do it, and you're not going to do it to your best ability. So I tend to focus on that rather than, are you burnt out because you've just been working hard? There's obviously a reason, and this day and age, there's so many different factors of why someone's not happy in life. And but you need to get to know your team. Basically, I said in something recently, I don't know what it was for, but it was, sit in the staff room again and eat your lunch with your staff. And costs nothing to do that, and you should want to do that anyway. You should really want to know what is going on in everyone's head, and as an employer and as a boss, that's your duty, not your role. That's your duty to understand that, because there are some people that are going through some horrible things at the moment, and if you don't know that, then how on earth can you compensate for that? And you can tweak every single person's column to suit that person. If you know that person over there is going through a particular rough time at home, or their marriage isn't quite right, or they've got an illness that they don't really want to broadcast to the world, you can tweak their business to suit that. And you should.
100%. And that kind of ties into my next question for you, Phil, which is, what steps are you taking, and what steps can fellow salon owners take right now to invest in their salon's future success? I mean, the first one sounds like a simple one, like, sitting there with your team and having lunch together. You can probably learn quite a lot from doing that.
Well, you'd be surprised at what you don't know if you're not doing that. You'll be surprised. My thing right now is, how do I keep an employed salon going? Not for now. I'd hate to think this is it for the next 2 years and it's over. I want this to be the last business I ever run, hopefully. So it's, how do we keep people wanting to come to work, and education. And education is something that's just fallen away, because there's only sort of 3 haircuts that everyone knows now, and it's sort of long, a little bit shorter, and a little bit shorter. It's just, we've lost that want to create, wearable hairstyles. I'm not saying we've got to go all this sort of geometric stuff and all that again. But there just needs to be a little bit more going on with our education, a lot more going on with our education. And people need to be playing around with hair in the salon again, trying different routines. As a fortunate place to be where I get to judge the hair awards, I get to see the creative side of the industry. And the last 2 years, it's not been as creative as it used to be. But so to me, to pick out the winner is a lot easier now, because they're the ones that have been more creative.
They'll stand out.
So it just means, so what I'm trying to say is that the creative people within our industry, they're few and far between now. But we're all creatives because we all do hair. And so you just need to push yourself and folks to do a bit more of that. So I'm going to really go back into education again. I'm going to make sure that we are using the academies and the schools. They'll be up for deals now. I mean, they've had a horrendous time with cancellations. Nobody's traveling in to get teaching. So there are deals to be had. Speak to someone that organise. If you were to do a deal where you say, we're going to send the next 5 juniors to you, can we get it at this price? And there's things can happen. But I think if you want people to come and work with you and you want them to do well, they need to be educated to a high level. That's the difference between how I see the self-employed salons going, because they won't be doing that. For every 100 self-employed hairdressers, probably 3 or 4 will spend their own money and educate themselves. The rest are going for the easier walk of life. Those that choose to come and work in an employed salon want education. So by God, it's my duty and the salon owner's duty to give them what it is that they've chosen to come and work with you. And you've got to remember that they have a choice. They have chosen to come and work with you. So whatever it is you've offered them in an interview, or what they felt when they came in the salon, or they like that. So as an employer, it's your role to if they leave, you failed, basically. And that bluntly, you didn't give them what it was you promised them at the start.
And I guess that's about communication as well, Phil, and making sure
just getting to know your team. Certainly in my early days when I was running salons, it got a bit difficult towards the end, which is another one of the reasons why I just didn't feel like I was running salons anymore. It's just this beast of a business. But I knew everyone, you know, in the first 4 or 5 shops, we just knew everyone. We'd have combined Christmas parties and get-togethers. That's an important thing as well, is making sure all of your team, and you should only do it when all of the team can make it. But you should do it like a Saturday night out. You know, go to a restaurant. It doesn't need to be expensive. Have drinks. It's that little bonding thing where people just laugh and joke together outside of work. It's really important. That doesn't happen enough anymore. You know,
hopefully as times get a bit more normal again, that will
in answer to your question,
that socializing.
Just about everything should be back to basics. You know, how was it 15, 20, 30 years ago? Why were there so many more, you know, high street hairdressers? You know, I don't think it's lost. I just think we're in a bit of a crisis, and we need to address why we're there. And those that want to choose to stay as employed people, you know, we owe it to them to give them what it is they need and want.
Definitely. And the recurring theme that I'm getting as well from you, Phil, which is great, is the importance of the team. You've got your brand, you've got your business, and clients know what they're getting when they come into you as an employed salon, as a brand, but it's keeping the team.
I can't say we've had it so many times over the years. Certainly when I had the big group of salons, but in every salon, if you've got, you know, 15 to 20 staff, you're going to get a group of people that don't want to be part of that team. You know, the little snide comments go around and that. And like I said, once that happens, that can sink your business if you don't nip it in the bud. You've really got to. It's a team. Everyone's in it together. You know, and always. I know not everyone's really into football, but if you have one player in a football team that ain't part of that team, didn't really want to be there, the team will lose. And salon's no different. Salon's no different. Every single person has to be part of that team. And again, you need to speak to them. You need to find out, you know, why. Well, what are you so unhappy about that you're causing a bit of disruption within the salon? And, because, you know, a lot of hairdressers, we're portrayed as these confident, outgoing people, but a lot of them, you know, they're not. We're not that confident. You know, we have insecurities like anybody else. So if someone's sort of being picked on a little bit, you know, their creative abilities don't come out because they're afraid of that failure stigma. You know, if I do something that looks stupid, someone's going to laugh at me. I had all this when I started hairdressing. You know, there's a couple of people that used to laugh at. I was always trying different things. God knows why when I look back, but I was always trying different things, and all the time it failed. Not some of the time it failed. All the time it failed, and I was just, you know, laughed upon. But all that ever did for me was make me stronger and try and get something that succeeded. And, so the first time I ever felt like I succeeded in hairdressing, I did this photo shoot for the British Hairdressing Awards. And it was just by chance. We put the first girl had a white shirt and a white tie on, and she's still in a white backdrop, and it's bang on. And then the next model came along, we did the hair, and she had like a yellow shirt with something else. Anyway, it just didn't work. So we put her in the white shirt. We'll swap that one over for that one. But in the end, we started building up these 3-4 girls all had these white shirts and white ties. And they stood to attention. We had this long line of models, and I've got to say, I thought it looked great. And then so many people around the world, because at that time I had a salon in Canada, and I was about to open one in Australia, I think. But I was seeing that image of all these people doing these models like this, and that was the first time I thought, my God, I've actually done something that I'm a leader now. I'm not
wanting to copy.
That took me, I don't know, 14 years to get there. So there you go. If you're trying something and you're afraid of failure, it takes forever to get something right. And I don't know if I've ever got anything right since then, by the way, but
yeah, but that is key to anything though, isn't it, Phil? You've got to be willing to step outside of that comfort zone, whatever that comfort zone is. Yeah. Definitely. So this whole session has obviously been around how to invest in your salon's future success. So would you say that at the moment it is about investing in your team, in your education, and making sure that you've got that strength from within?
Because there's no point in investing in a social media campaign if when the person comes in, the client comes in, and it's not the same. No point. No, you know, it's not as good as you're portrayed to be on social media. Invest in your team, and if like me, you're in a small area. You know, Salisbury is a small city, and most cities are relatively small. You know, let's be honest. People travel in, they get their hair cut, and they go out again. if you're getting it right, people will continue to come to you. It's so simple. You know, you've got to give them a good haircut, a nice cup of coffee or a drink, and a good chat.
Yeah.
And if you get those three things right, and when I say a good chat, you actually get to know your client, and remember things about the client. Call the client by her name, not by the name client. You know, simple things. People will come back to you. They
Do you
won't.
do you and your team make little notes about things they might have mentioned during the appointment or anything like
They,
that?
they don't. That's a brilliant thing to recommend. But they for some, they just know. I think
They
when you've been
remember.
long enough, you just know. I mean, I've been
Yeah.
doing the same client for the last 25 years. That's all I cut now. I know everything about them, and they know everything about me. And they don't. I mean, what am I, 52 now? I don't cut hair as well as I used to. So they can't be coming to me for my skill in hair cutting. They're coming because it's an experience. It's an all-round chat, and we have a laugh, and they're as interested in my life as I am in them. And you know, that's the job we do at the end of the day. We need to be socially active with our clients. If you're just someone that just stands there and doesn't say a word when you're doing a 2-hour foil session, they're not going to come back. They're not going to enjoy that.
No.
I mean, they might.
There is that small trend, that micro trend for the silent haircut and all of that kind of thing, isn't there? But
again, in my experience,
quite a niche group.
Those that don't want to talk, they make it quite clear at the start. The clients that don't really want to talk, they're just quite happy to put their head down and either nod off or read a magazine or do whatever. But I think, you know, just keep it really simple and focus on your team. Make sure the team are happy. And if you've got an unhappy team member, you've either got to correct them quickly or they've got to go. They've got to move on and go and work somewhere else, because, you know, you can't let one unhappy person break down a whole happy team. Disastrous. That's the beginning of the end. But they're quite harsh things to say, aren't they?
Well, you know, you're knowledgeable in this field, Phil, and we appreciate your honesty on it, because they're not always, being a business person and a salon owner, you don't always get to make easy decisions, do you?
No, very rarely do you get to make easy decisions,
Yeah.
which is why there's very few salon owners these days. Yeah. I'd always be interested to see how how the big salon owners, you know, the ones I mentioned earlier, how they're sort of adjusting to life now. Because that must be a completely different. I wouldn't have a clue where to start on that. I mean, like I say, I like to run a small little boutique kind of salon. For me, that's comfortable. It doesn't pay the big money that you could have earned with a big salon, but it pays a living. And I just enjoy my work. And the salon's been here 8 years, and we've had ups and downs. And I mean, we had a thing here a few years ago where the Russians came to visit Salisbury for the day and poisoned a load of people, and we had a horrendous time in business, and the turnover plummeted. You know, by
because obviously that hit the news, and I can imagine it stopped, you know, the tourist trade and all that kind of stuff.
Everything. The city was shut, you know, and so we, you know, like I say, but I love this little shop, and through the bad times, there's been more good than there have been bad times, which is why, you know, now I tend to enter more awards as team people. You know, I think it's great for the team to receive the accolade as opposed to me. And I keep saying to everyone, I say, if we get something tonight, you got to speak. Don't make me be the speaker. And but they all get a bit shy when they get up on stage and so on.
But it shows that you're practicing what you're preaching there, Phil, doesn't it?
I try, you know what, I try. Get it wrong sometimes.
Like you say, you enter the team awards, you win it, is because you put everything into your team.
Yeah.
And making sure that your success comes from their success.
Yeah. And I keep saying to them, you know, we had our little group chats going over lockdown, and, you know, as we were getting ready to come back to work, each time lockdown was ending, like, you know, there's a reason you guys keep winning Team of the Year. And it's because you're great at what you do. Simple as that. And, you know, praise your people. You know, the little negatives, there are negatives always with every team, and, you know, they should be done in a little quiet area, discreetly. But praise the great that comes out, because, you know, everyone loves praise. And we feel better when we believe what we're doing is the right thing.
Definitely. And just to finish off, Phil, it's been a fantastic chat. Do you have any recommendations for where you go to get your business insights? Do you listen to podcasts? Do you listen to books? Or do you just sort of...
do you know what? Good friend of mine, Rachel Grieve, she bought me a book at Christmas called The Alchemist, and it's all about how you make your dreams come true. That's been a really good book, and I recommend anyone to read that. I don't listen to podcasts. I wish I could. My mate Michael Douglas, I've listened to his a few times. but I just don't really have time. I tend to read the papers. I read all about, I love anybody that is successful in any business, in any field. I thrive on being close to people that are successful. I actually get a little bit starstruck with a complete nobody to most people, but if I know that they've been successful in what they do, I love people like that, absolutely love them. So, and every business is the same. Fundamentally, you take X amount of pounds, you have overhead, and you have profit. And that's it. And if you spend more than you're bringing in, you know, there's people that I know, well, not that I know, but you read about, that run companies that turn over £1 billion a year, but it costs them £1,000,001 to run it. That's a crap business as far as I'm concerned. They don't inspire me. It's those that can take any business at all, whether it be a tiny little gardening business or a huge telecoms business, and they can turn it into success, and they have people working with them that love working with them. And there's a real, why do they love working with them? And that you can translate that and transfer that into your own salon business. So I don't tend to follow what other hairdressers are doing as such in salon businesses. I tend to follow just successful businesses.
Do you have any specific media outlets or places where you go to find that information, or
newspapers?
Newspapers. Yeah.
That's one of my things at the moment. So my own family and my team downstairs, I'm listening sometimes to some of the stories that are going on, and I mean, who knows what to believe anymore with the way the media portrayed the world right now. But it's quite clear and evident to me that some of my younger team don't know the facts of what's going on right now. And I'll be cutting away, and I can hear this conversation over here, and I'll be like, oh, don't say that, and they go and say it. And I recommend, read a paper once a week, buy a Sunday paper, whether it be the Daily Mail, even the Sun on Sundays sometimes get things right, but the Times, and you know what, just read a couple of pages. So, and then that gives you something to talk to your clients about. You know, at least you'll know, you know, for example, we've got this big G7 summit happening. Clients will talk about it, some won't, but you need to know about it because it's an important thing. There's been this huge breakthrough on global tax, which is, I had a little bit of a cheer in my car when I heard that Rishi Sunak announced that they've all come to agreement. I think it's terribly wrong that some companies get to turn over billions. They're not successful people to me that evade and cheat the tax system. I mean, we all look at ways to pay less tax. You know, I mean, if you have an ISA, you're doing that to pay less tax, and you know, but when you're turning over billions and you're making, you know, 3, 4, 5, 600 million a year in profit, and you're not paying any tax, and that's disgraceful. So but that to me is an important thing. And I cut hair yesterday in the salon here, and every single client we had that conversation about that. And you know, it's important that your team know, whether they're young, old, or whatever. People should know. So newspapers, good old-fashioned newspaper. Takes 15, 20 minutes just to click through a headline, pick out a topic, and follow that.
And even for the young people that are tuning in, I mean, you can even get alerts on your phone with news alerts and things like that, where you can.
My kids have that. Their phone's always going off with the Sky News thing, and giving them alerts. I mean, sometimes you need to know. The youngsters won't like me for saying this, but what's going on in Love Island isn't that important. And, sort of older generation client want to know what's going on in the world and what your views are. And you know, I'm not saying you've got to sound intellectual and really clever and so on and so forth, but you just need to have a basic knowledge.
Yeah, because they might just throw something out there, and you've got to be able to respond to it. Otherwise, that conversation would go dead, wouldn't it? Like, I haven't heard about it. Yeah.
Conversation. When I went back to my 3 things: your cut, your coffee, and your chat. If there's nothing in common really, you've lost your client.
Yeah.
Not even finished the haircut, and you've lost that client. They're not coming back.
Yeah, that's a valid point, isn't it? And that's about going back to the basics that we were talking about at the start, Phil.
We were talking. I mean, my training days were a company called Raymond's, and that was proper old school hairdressing, proper old school training. And we were tested daily. My boss Dennis, Mr. Dennis, would ask us questions that were going on in the news. You know, we would. I mean, he actually bought newspapers, put them in we had a junior staff room and a senior staff room, and there was 2 newspapers every day in the junior staff room. We had to read, and he would ask us questions. What's going on? Because when you're shampooing someone, or you're taking someone's rollers out and you're chatting to them, we had they were predominantly older clients, but they were clever people, and you had to know your stuff.
Definitely. And you know, I mean, the older clients do have the silver pound and all of that. They've got the money to pay for the services regularly, haven't they? So you don't want to lose those clients.
No, not at all.
No. Fantastic, Phil. Well, I feel like we've covered a lot of ground during this session, haven't we? It's
I
been
hope it's been
brilliant.
helpful.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's been super helpful. And I'm sure people, if they have any further questions, I'm sure you wouldn't mind them reaching out to you, Phil.
Please, like I say, I
Yeah.
can't promise to answer every single question, but I do try, and I do read through, but I just get so many people saying, how do I start a product range up? And there's no simple answer to that. It's, you know, a lot of it's luck, and a lot of it is, God, it's hard work. And I don't think people actually realise how difficult running a product line is.
And I'm guessing it's not guaranteed success either, Phil.
Oh, no,
I get the people that may be keen to do it might see it as an easy, quick win.
I've launched so many products that have failed and, you know, lasted 3 months on a supermarket shelf. I've launched more of those than I have the ones that do succeed. You get so much wrong, but it's the logistical side that's the difficult bit, you know, because for me to do my bit, every single product I have to order a minimum of like 25,000 bottles at a time. And at the moment we've got, can you believe right now there's a shortage, global shortage of pumps that sit on the top of bottles, because virtually every health and beauty manufacturer was making hand sanitizer for so long.
Of course, yes.
Okay, so somewhere in the world there's got to be hundreds of billions of bottles of sanitizer, hand sanitizer, that's never ever going to be sold now. All the pumps are being used up. That's created a problem. That I think it's 14 months lead time now. So if we order products with pumps on, we're not going to get them for 14 months. So there's all those things. So when people say, you know, how do you run a product line? God, I don't know. Because every day there's another hassle.
Yeah, definitely. And like we've said before as well, if you're a salon owner wanting to do something like that, you've got to learn to work on your business, not in your business, to have the time to do that.
Yeah, you've got to be behind the scenes doing more than you ever will do, you know, on the salon floor.
Definitely. Well, before we wrap up, Phil, I'm just going to ask one more question from Tony Puccio. Would you ever franchise Smith England?
No, never. I love franchising. It was good for me and it was great for me. I think the franchise model is it needs reshaping, and I just don't think there's enough money in salons at the moment. It's hard to make money out of hairdressing salons right now. And of course, with a franchising model, you have to give a percentage of your turnover to the franchisor, and it doesn't leave enough. You know, I think salon owners, in order to get someone to want to be a franchisee, let's say I franchise out Smith England, and if the guy or the girl that's running it isn't successful financially, why would they do it? Why would they choose to have my name above their door if they're not financially successful? And when I mean financially successful, they need to be earning far more than they ever would as a self-employed hairdresser or an employed hairdresser. And there's just not that sort of money available right now. But that's not to say I don't like franchising. It's a great business model. I think it just needs to be reshaped somewhat and go back a little bit and then go forward. I think some companies can get too big with it. You know, you have the danger. You know, you just look at what's happened with sort of Regis and Supercuts, and I mean, it's just too big. I think you can't adhere to a certain level of standard across the whole company when it's that big. It's just impossible. The infrastructure needs to be massive, and there's just not enough money in it for that. But that said, I love my time with Tony and Guy. It was great, and it certainly got me to where I am these days.
Brilliant. So you're all about, I mean, that's what's been the theme of this session, hasn't it, Phil? Is taking it back to basics and kind of going back from scratch and building it back up again in order to get that success in the salon.
Absolutely. And it takes time as well. Don't think just because we go back to basics, within the next month we're going to have this round salon again. It takes years, you know, and as long as you're doing the right things, it will happen.
Yeah, and I guess people shouldn't be scared of the fact that that rush is coming to an end now, and having that extra time to grow the business.
Oh no, so again, I wrote something recently where we were going to turn over an awful lot of money. We all knew that, you know, April, May, we were going to turn over a lot of money, and some lucky enough to come into the early days of June are still busy. But just because you're making a bit more money, then that has got to see you through this next few months. And I firmly believe we're on the right track now. We are going to be hopefully back to some kind of normality by late summer, early autumn, and business should start. We should start getting a consistent pattern again of, you know, November we know should be slower and Christmas will be busy. And God, I hope that we go back to those days where we just all can start planning our businesses again, when we can spend on advertising, what we can do, how we can pay for the education that we want to do. We need that norm back, but these few months will be tricky to ascertain that. But the money that we have turned over, for heaven's sakes, don't go and spend it. If you've taken out a bounce back loan, whatever, and you've still got it there, don't spend it. Park it, for heaven's sake, park it, pay it back, but understand that you have to pay it back at some point. It's a loan.
Yeah.
But just don't waste it, because we don't know what's around the corner. This next few months will still be difficult. But if you go back to the, getting the basics right, doing all the things that we're supposed to do, that we should be doing anyway, once we get back into that normality, you'll be in a good position to go forward, and your business will thrive again one day.
Brilliant. I think that's a perfect place to end it, Phil, on that positive note. Thank
Yeah.
you so much for giving up your time to share your insights with us. It's been fantastic.
No problems at all. Thank you ever so much.
Speak to you again soon, I'm sure. Thank you.